Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Commission of City Plan, the City of Norwich. It's Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. I believe, are we all set, Rich, as far as
Yep.
the hybrid portion of the meeting goes?
Yes, it's recording. Everybody's in.
Okay. And we do have a quorum.
We need to see the alternates.
Okay, we've got myself is here, Ella Miles, Tracy Berto, Jason Corder, and Jim Cordo. And we're going to seek the alternates tonight, who are Tracy. Tracy's the only alternate. Let's see, where's Jason?
And
also?
Jason. Yep.
Jason and Tracy.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So first order of business would be to approve minutes from the December 17th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anybody have any corrections, additions, changes? Hearing none, then can we have a motion for approval of the minutes?
This is Ella. I'll make that motion.
A motion by Ella to approve the December 17th minutes. Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Second
Tracy.
by Tracy, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So those minutes are approved. Communications.
Sure. I have a few different things. We have the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. I just passed out their quarterly newsletters. And the city gets those for the Zoning Board of Appeals and for this commission. It tells about legal cases that have come up in that quarter. So I just passed those on to you, and I'll mail yours, Ella and Tracy. It's good reading just to kind of catch up what's going on. The other thing is CBA educational training, which is the Connecticut Bar Association. They do the land use law for municipal land use agencies. Saturday, March 22nd, it's from 9 to 4:30. It's a full day by Zoom. If you have, it's a great thing to go to, but if you haven't got your required hours in and you're being pestered by the city council to do so, I mean, not city council, but the city manager's office, Jackie, to get those hours in that is required by statute now, let her know. There is a fee to it, but it is all day on Zoom, so, or virtual. So that's that. First Light Power submitted in a letter. I'm going to read this one. December 19th, 2024, dear neighbor or government official, Tunnel Bess LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of First Light Power. First Light is writing to provide you with notice of an upcoming submission to the Connecticut Siting Council for a proposed battery energy storage project. The project located at the site of the existing tunnel jet facility at 72 Roosevelt Avenue Extension in Preston. First Light is partnering with renewable energy developer New Leaf Energy on the project. The project would repower the existing tunnel jet kerosene generator system with battery storage, which would fully eliminate the carbon emissions generated on site. The project and others like it are critical to meeting Connecticut's goal of a zero emission electrical supply by 2040. Project timeline, we anticipate the petition for the project will be filed with the Connecticut Siting Council in the near future with an anticipated approval by mid-2025. Pending receipt of all necessary approvals and equipment procurement, our goal is to begin preliminary site work in the spring of 2026 for construction finishing during the spring of 2027. Contact information is First Light and New Leaf are committed to being good neighbors and answering any questions or addressing concerns you may have. For more information, please contact Sandra Brown, First Light Power, Eric Weinstein, New Leaf Energy. If you'd like to submit comments regarding our petitions to the Connecticut Siting Council, please send them to the sitingcouncil@ct.gov or send a letter to the following address, Melanie Bachman, Executive Director, Connecticut Siting Council, 10 Franklin Square, New Britain, Connecticut, 06051. Sincerely, Andrew Bridges, Director of Community Relations with First Light. So this is a project that's going to happen in Preston, but it's notification to us. And then the last piece of correspondence for you is an email that came into me December 23rd from, her name is Valley Pendalaya. Hello, Deanna. My name is Valley Pendalaya, and I'm an organizer with Desegregate Connecticut, the nonpartisan pro-homes coalition of 80 nonprofits and neighborhood groups that promotes land use reforms to improve our economy and sustain our environment. I'm contacting your office because our team is interested in once again discussing the legislative proposal Live Work Ride with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The proposal passed the House with bipartisan support last session and will be returning in the 2025 Connecticut General Assembly session with a strong likelihood of becoming law. As a quick reminder, Work Live Ride is an opt-in bill that helps local communities create special transit-oriented districts around their bus or rail station by prioritizing state funding for infrastructure and technical assistance through the Office of Responsible Growth. We would appreciate having the opportunity to discuss Live, Work, Ride, and answer questions at one of the Planning and Zoning Commission's meetings in 2025. Please feel free to respond with any questions you may have. I look forward to hearing from you soon and hope we can talk with the commission again. Signed, Best Valley Pendalia. So it's been probably a couple of years, and I don't know if all the members were here at the time, but they did come and do a presentation virtually about the Live, Work, Ride bill that was going to be in front of the legislature. It got shot down that year, and they keep bringing it up and changing it. And they're sending this out to all communities, asking to come and speak about it. And they followed up with me a couple days ago asking, so is this something that the commission would want to do a presentation? And if we could do it, could we do it like not next month, but further out?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's worthwhile listening to. I was here last time they spoke.
Okay,
It's good information and something we should probably know about.
so sometime after March, is that okay? for
Yeah,
a meeting or
whenever you
something?
can work it out when we have a slow schedule.
Okay,
Yeah, good idea.
I'll make sure that I get that on there. Thank you. That's all we have for correspondence.
Okay, so under new business, we have two matters that are looking to be tabled until February. The first is subdivision, re-subdivision.
Yep.
40 Connecticut Avenue, it's subdivision number 439. And I guess this is at the request of the applicant.
They had an error in their mailing, so yes, request of the applicant.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion to table this?
This is
If
Jason.
you could do the language of postponing it instead of tabling it, that'd be helpful. Postpone the public hearing.
This is Jason. I'd like to postpone the hearing.
No, what's the difference?
Table is usually when it's a site plan and it's not the public hearing, so postponing the public hearing makes it easier instead of tabling it. It's just.
I don't think it makes a difference, but.
Okay.
All right, so there's a motion to postpone, second by Jim Cordo, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the second one is special permit number 2413, 131 Providence Street. Again, I assume that's at the request of the applicant.
Another error in the mailing, yes.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion regarding that matter?
This is Ella. I'll make the motion to postpone that public hearing until the February 25th meeting.
Okay, so that's motion made by Ella. Do we have a second?
I'll second. It's Tracy.
Tracy has a second to that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so both those matters are tabled or postponed.
Thank you, Frank.
Next matter is public hearing and potential action on the following special permit and re-subdivision applications. The first one is special permit 24-12, 46 West Main Street, request for a special permit for a proposed pre-engineered structural aluminum pergola system / enclosure that covers approximately 1,300 square feet in the special flood hazard area to connect the existing kitchen / bathroom to the dining area, property of the city of Norwich. It's the application, of the Marina at American Wharf, LLC. Patrick Dwyer, Principal, Assessor's Map 101, Block 4, Lot 50, Zone WD, and it was tabled at our last meeting. So we have a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Jason. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
All right, can we have a second?
This is Ella. I'll second.
Motion by Jason, second by Ella to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so somebody from the applicant here, do you want to speak first, Deanna?
No, we have Patrick Dwyer here to speak on behalf of this application. And like I did say a few minutes ago, some of the drawings that he have tonight, he'll stand up and present, and we'll try to have you come a little bit to that angle, Patrick, for the camera. Okay, so go ahead.
All right, so The description is pretty accurate. We're looking to get approval for a special permit for this enclosure to try to provide a more weatherproof enclosure and access to and from the kitchen building to the restaurant building and the bathrooms. It's a very minimally invasive structure. It's basically 12 columns into the existing hardscaped areas. We've submitted everything except for the one drawing Deanna mentioned. Didn't find its way through the portal, so we can show you that. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. Give you any information I can.
Okay.
So now you just walk through, you can walk from the bar area right through to the,
Yeah,
restroom
you'd be
area.
able to walk from the bar area. It would be good. It's good for the kitchen staff to move through to the bar area.
Yeah.
It also allows for seating under cover outside during inclement weather, and you can get to the bathrooms under the enclosure.
Where would the seating be? Inside the red lines there?
Well, now's a good time, I guess, to show you the one drawing that somehow didn't make its way through the portal.
So Rich, can you make it so they can see him?
You asked the question, so
To the back.
the structure is basically coming here.
Patrick, I'm gonna have you try to hold it up so the screen's up, so you can, everyone can see it. Yeah, right there. So go ahead.
If you'd like, I can get it closer to the camera at some point. but
Yeah, but why don't you talk to
For
them
right
here?
now, the structure basically goes from the bar building over to the kitchen, likewise here. And it's a roof structure that covers this whole area. And it's flashed into each building. It's an independent structure. It's flashed into each building. It will have, per fire code, egress doors here, here, and here. And it, the roof sections actually open. The side have curtains, like a heavy vinyl product with isinglass that's on a motorized system. So they open and shut, click of a button. And it'll provide some additional seating right in there.
Okay.
So
Good.
that's where it is.
Why don't I take it and try to hold it up a little closer to the camera for the.
You want to do that? I
Yeah.
have longer arms, but.
No.
All right.
How many more seats will that give you there
Under there,
in the restaurant?
the total in the restaurant, I think, right now, inside the existing bar building, I believe is 88. And I
Existing
think under.
building,
That,
the
we end up
kitchen.
with
the bathroom,
another
and the roof will come
24.
here.
But once in the good weather with the outside seating that's permitted all the way around the whole area, I think they get somewhere north of 200 seats.
What I'm gonna do here is,
Much needed, yeah, much needed, yeah, Patrick, yeah, very good.
And it's the most cost-effective and permittable solution to conventional construction. Would be very difficult.
yeah,
Would you mind pointing out the drainage?
hold on, this is the roof.
Sure.
This is what the roof looks like. I'll hold it here. This is the roof structure that we're talking about, that enclosure structure, Rich is showing it there on your screen. Thank you, Rich. And then there's a couple of. This is a picture. The red roof here is that roof connecting the existing restaurant building. Here is the kitchen, and this is the bathroom area. This for you as well, the red. Okay,
We have these online.
these last pictures were not submitted online.
Yeah, you have that one.
Oh, this
It
one?
Took a couple of pictures.
Okay, so these are some new ones. So Patrick, when was this? I wanted to talk about.
That,
Was this
that
today?
photo was, no, that photo was as of last week.
So this was as of last week. Is it still under construction? I'll show you this. Obviously, the wall sections aren't up in here. This is just.
Yeah, that's just the roof side. So to answer your question about drainage, the roof sections all internally collect their own water. It has an internal gutter system that carries the water. It will all drain this way on that drawing, which is west. And then it will go in downspouts and shed out on the natural hardscape that's already there on the pavers.
That again shows it right here. Okay,
Right.
It's rated for a 60 pound per square foot snow load, which is roughly 3 or 4 feet. So it's
More than capable.
in region.
Okay. So we're-
Okay, is there anybody else gonna speak on behalf of the application?
I have a letter to read into the record for them. So this letter is dated January 26, 2025, Commission on the City Plan, Norwich, Connecticut, 06360. Dear Commission members, I'm excited to write you in support of the restaurant pergola enclosure structure project underway at the Marina at American Wharf. 2 years ago, the City Council established the review of the downtown waterfront as a priority. We are on the verge of significant change. For 2 decades, 2 key components to a successful operation at the marina have been missing: on-site roof refuel capacity and a year-round restaurant. Private investments by marina ownership combined with recently awarded state-level CIF 2030 grant funding and Federal American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funding have created the conditions for success. We are now in a position to not only make the operation successful, but leverage an active marina to the benefit of economic growth and activity for an entire downtown. A request for a proposal process just closed last week for fuel tank installation, with the bid award to come within the next week. The goal is to have fuel tanks installed and open by June of this year. Approving this restaurant improvement will position the restaurant for success with the right number of seats and year-round availability that will help it thrive year-round. Sincerely, Kevin Brown, President, Norwich Community Development Corporation.
Did you want to present anything from staff?
Sure, do you want to see if there's any other comments from the public, and then it'll be me?
Sure. Do we have any other comments from the public at this time in support of the application? Anybody in the waiting room there, Rich?
No, everybody is in.
Is there any,
No chats.
buddy in the waiting room who wants to speak on behalf of this application? Last time, anybody who wants to speak on behalf of the application? Okay, so you want to give your staff report then?
Sure. So, that was the letter I read into the record. There was a memo that Dan created. I went through the memo and, most of all comments have been addressed. There is a waiver request of several items that we will need to have the commission, vote on, as well as the CAM application. So the CAM, application is not referenced on the agenda, I'm sorry, but it's associated with it because it's in the coastal area. So I'm just going to, just touch on a couple things. So the CAM was reviewed. We just received that in, from the DEP. And I just want to read you their final comment on that. That came in on, January 28th. And their summary is, that it's consistent, with the all applicable coastal policies. So that would be the reason for an approval for the CAM, that per DEP, it's consistent with all applicable coastal policies. The waiver request is for multiple items. Let me tell you what those were. And these have been reviewed by our city engineer and zoning, and they concur that these are items that are not necessary for review of this application. 2 copies of the bond estimate certified by a professional engineer. They're requesting the waiver of that requirement as no bond is applicable to this small project. 2 copies of drainage calculations certified by a professional engineer. They're requesting this waiver because the pergola structure will have no new impact or alter the drainage on the property. That the area of the pergola roof structure is located on hardscaped area already, and the new pergola has integral drainage gutters and downspouts, which will distribute the water to the outside of the footprint, which is all hardscaped. And that was also noted, just on sidebar, noted by DEP in the CAM, and they were okay with that. An A2 survey with certification to its accuracy. They're asking for a waiver to that. They intend to do and this is all uploaded, so I'm not going to read it word for word, dated December 18th, that they're going to be doing other work on this property, and an A2 survey can come later on. So the city engineer and zoning were comfortable with that. And then 2 color renderings of elevations. They asked for a waiver to that, and instead had shown some pictures of what is going on as it's being built. So there's 4 waivers, and those are, again, the bond estimate, drainage calcs, A2, and color renderings. So those 4 items. As far as anything else, there's a list of exhibits, if Rich can call that up. Okay, so these are the exhibit items that we have. There's 27 of them. They did, last month, I believe they had an error in their mailings. That's why we're doing it this month. That has been corrected. If you want to just take a quick perusal of those items and there's any questions, I can call those out or read those for you. But, city staff has been satisfied with this application, and feel that it could be acted upon this evening. And I would recommend that it include the conditions that are stated in Dan Coley's memo, if you want to call that up. December 5th, 2024.
Does anybody have questions about any of the exhibits?
So. I think that's gonna be Cole's memo.
Dan Deniska's memo. Maybe Planner's memo.
Close replies memo, which is going to be.
It's further down. It's in December. His memo was December 5th. Well, let me see.
CE review,
Nope. That's,
or the city engineer, the
oh,
elevation certificate. The owner authorization.
Planner's memo not down quickly. That's what I posted today. It's gotta be further up. City plant, city engineer. All right, well, I'll tell you the items and you can just, so this is what's outstanding from Dan's memo. That he needs to go over this, the recommendation was to go over the requirements in the special permit criteria, section 7.76. We did look at those within the 13 factors and they are satisfied that the commission wants the applicant to look at those or to go over those. There was a comment about a note being added to the plan relative to the high sensitivity archaeological resources. That doesn't necessarily need to be added to the plan. That can be added in the special permit file. But Dan's conditions,
Just looking to see if it's in another.
plan review, CCP,
Well-
that's it, CCP plan review.
But this subdivision, so I wasn't sure.
All right, so let me go over what Dan's comments were and how many bullet points they are. I'll read them for you since we can't call it up. I'm sorry. That the site plan for the special permit will expire in 5 years on 12/17/2029 unless an extension is granted. Actually, that's not correct. The expire, it'll be 5 years from this date, which is 1/28/2029. That the special permit for this expire on 1/28/2029 unless an extension has been granted. That all outstanding comments from city staff be addressed for the final plan. That the revised site plan be submitted and reviewed by staff. That the certification of approval for the special permits use be filed in the city clerks before becoming effective. The certification will be provided to the applicant by the city planning department post approval after the appeal period has ended. That a zoning permit shall be issued prior to any activities commencing on the site. That any modifications to the approved proposal shall be reviewed by the zoning enforcement officer prior to occurring and may require additional review and approval by the commission. That all proposed improvements associated with this application are to be completed according to the approved plan prior to the issuance of the required certificate of zoning compliance or performance bond will be required in accordance with section 7.5, 7.3, and 8.9 of the zoning regs. The commission may require an as-built or certification by a licensed engineer or land surveyor should it be deemed necessary by the city to determine compliance with the approval granted. And the reasons are the proposal conforms with zoning regulation sections 2.734, chapter 5, section 7.5 and 7.7 of the regulations. But since there's a lot to remember there, I would just say that if someone makes a motion that it complies with the reasons stated, the conditions stated, and the reasons in item 14 of Dan's memo.
I do have a
Okay.
question though. In the memo, it stated something about no work to be commenced until permits are granted.
So
I
what they
understand there's work going on already.
So let me clarify that. So they were able to receive, and we spoke with the DEP about this too. You're allowed to have within the special flood hazard area temporary structures. So it has an approval right now as a temporary structure because it can be put up as panels and installed. but the goal was to get the special permit, so it's a permanent structure, but the reality is it could be taken down, but the goal is not to do that. So they have a permit right now for it to be temporary, and this will make it the permanent structure. So they are legal as a temporary structure right now, with their zoning permits, and they received approval from the building official today for a temporary occupancy today. Okay,
You mentioned 5 years from what
it's
date?
5 days from today, 5 years from today, 1/28/2029. So that would be the only change in,
Should be 2030, shouldn't it?
oh, Dan's,
Yeah.
no, that's right, thank you.
Yep.
1/28/2030. Been a long day. Thank you.
Okay, and before we move along, when we were having comments before, I didn't request comments from people opposed to the application, so I want to make that announcement at this point, just to make sure the record is clear. So if there's anybody who wants to make a comment in connection with this application who is opposed to it, whether here in person or in the hybrid chat room, I would ask that they speak up at this point. Is there anybody who wants to make any comments in opposition? We're not getting anything from the public then? Okay. With that being said, then I think we can move on and
Before you
do
cut.
you want to do the waivers first?
Yeah, so you have to close the public hearing, but I do want to remind you, do the waiver first of those 4 items.
And the CAM application?
And then the CAM, then approve the CAM application. Actually, CAM should go first because it's a separate application. So do the CAM first, and then do the waivers before you vote on the special permit. So please vote on the CAM first.
Okay, so can we have a motion to close the public hearing then?
This is Jason. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Jason,
I'll second it.
and we have a second by Jim to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the public hearing is closed, and with that being said, we do have to act upon the CAM application to find that if the application is consistent with the coastal management plans and regulations. So, and we've heard from Deanna that DEP has submitted a letter saying that it is consistent.
With coastal policies, yep. And the CAM number is 24-2, just so if you want to make a motion.
Okay, so can somebody make a motion then on CAM application 24-2?
I'll make the motion on that CAM 24-2 that we accept the CAM as explained by Deanna.
So we approve the CAM application and find that it's consistent with the coastal management policies.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
This is
I'll
Ella. I'll
second.
second.
Second by Ella. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the CAM application is approved. And then we have the matter of the waivers of 4 different items, being copies of the bond estimate, the drainage calculations, the A2 survey, and color elevations.
Yep.
And somebody make a motion regarding the waivers for those items.
This is Jason. I'd like to make a motion to approve the waiver request for the bond estimate, drainage calculation, A2 survey, and color renderings.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jason to approve the waivers for those 4 items. Do we have a second?
This is Ella. I'll second.
Thank you, Ella. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the waivers have been approved. And then we come to the application itself regarding special permit 24-12. Does somebody want to make a motion in connection with that application?
Sure, I'll make that motion that we approve 24-12.
Would that be with the conditions that were set out in Dan Coley's memo?
Dan Deniska.
Oh, Dan, you said Coley.
Oh,
before.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I meant Dan
Yeah,
Deniska.
yeah.
That's
I
probably.
thought
what I did
maybe
wrong.
Dan Coley did it since
No,
Dan was
Dan
out.
Deniska. Well, but it didn't matter anyways. It's still not up there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, with Dan Deniska's memo and with the conditions, and there was something else regarding that.
With any changes that you may have.
Item 14.
Yeah,
yeah, it was item 14.
okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
Okay, a motion to approve made by Jim as set forth and seconded by Ella. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion for approval carries and the special permit is granted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Yeah. Patrick, when would that be open, for business, a restaurant?
Well, they were issued their temporary certificate of occupancy to open today. I believe they're having some people there today, right now. I'm gonna go over and see, but, an actual hard opening date, I don't know for sure.
You have their liquor permit,
I believe they have that, yeah.
Right.
Very good.
They're itching to open.
All right, good luck.
Encourage everyone to come down and enjoy it.
I'll be
Well, tell that guy I said hello.
I will, thank you.
All right, so that was special permit 24-12. Next matter on the agenda is subdivision application number 438, 452 Plain Hill Road. This is a request for a 2-lot re-subdivision on a parcel that includes an existing dwelling, property and application of Balwinder Singh, Assessors Map 9, Block 1, Lot 31, Zone R40, and this was also tabled from our last meeting in December.
Mhm.
So, can we have a motion to open the public hearing?
This is Ella, I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Somebody want to second it?
I'll second that.
Second by Jim, motion Ella, second by Jim Cordo to open the public hearing. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the public hearing is open, and the applicant want somebody here to speak on behalf of that.
I'll let Brandon speak to it. You could hear it. You did the engineering on the project.
Okay, Brendan, you're up.
I'm up. Well, thank you very much. For the record, Brandon Hanfield with the Antique River Consultants, professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut, representing the applicant, Balwinder Singh. And we're here to discuss a 2-lot subdivision of 452 Plain Hill Road. The existing lot is shown on the title sheet here. Outlined in yellow and orange would be 3.79 acres. To the bottom of that sheet or to the east would be Plain Hill Road. So the property is situated to the west of Plain Hill. And it's about 1,200 feet south of west or White Plains Road, sorry. It's at the north end of the city. And this property is located within the residential R40 district. The existing parcel, again, outlined in that yellow and orange. The orange lines are property lines that were surveyed by Boundaries LLC. John Felice happens to be on this meeting as well, should any questions arise. The yellow lines on this property are the existing stone walls that bound all 4 sides of the property. Those are property lines, but I wanted to give a different color so you could see the stone walls that do exist and the gaps that exist in the orange. This existing lot, again, 3.8 acres, was created in 1981 as part of probate. There is an existing house, and could you go to the next sheet for me? Perfect. The existing house and garage and shed are outlined in magenta on the northeast corner of the property, closer to Plain Hill Road. That's an existing single-family home and outbuildings. They will all be demolished as part of the project. The property itself is generally an agricultural field between the stone walls. It hasn't been kept up in the last couple of years. Let's see here. In terms of topography, you can see that the property slopes away from Plain Hill Road. from east to west, rather gently towards the west. The proposed subdivision, we're going to divide the 3.8 acres into 2 lots. Lot 1 on the north is 1.87 acres. On the south is 1.63 acres. The green property line would be the new property line that divides the 2 lots. Each lot will be served by its own access driveway to Plain Hill Road. So for lot 1, we're tying into the existing curb cut for the existing house. For lot 2, there would be a new curb cut, and we're trying to take advantage of a barway within the stone wall. You can see that small orange dashed line. That is an existing barway. We'd have to widen slightly, but again, trying to preserve the stone wall to the greatest extent we can. 2 single-family homes, each 4 bedrooms are projected. Each lot will be served by a subsurface sewage disposal system and well, which were submitted to the Uncas Health District for review, and we did get a favorable letter. Again, the perimeter stone walls that are the boundary lines will be preserved, except for any necessary alterations to the stone wall for access and sightline improvements along Plain Hill Road. And we are not proposing sidewalks. There are no sidewalks in this area. The lot is in excess of 20,000 square feet. And we did submit a written waiver or a written sidewalk waiver request for the record, and ask that you consider that waiver, as sidewalks would not connect to anything here. The other part of this is we're not proposing any open space, and agree to pay a fee in lieu of for that. And that is, to keep it short and sweet, that is the proposed subdivision. And I'm happy to talk about the comments or that we did receive and respond to, or take any questions that you have at this time.
Brendan, is this piece of property, that's north of Farmview?
Yes, I believe Farmview is just to the south, and is on the west side. That's the subdivision, correct?
Yeah,
Yes, I believe that is south on the west side, yes.
just curious.
Yep.
Right, anybody else have any comments in favor of the application at this time? Or have questions for Brandon?
Are these properties going to be serviced by well and septic?
Yes, each property will have its own septic system. They're shown on this plan, on the downhill side or to the west of the 2 houses. They're long, rectangular shapes, which would indicate the size of the leaching field, and the wells are the blue circles, with the 75-foot radius shown around them.
Any other questions? Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the application? Anybody wish to speak in favor of the application? Last time, anybody wish to speak in favor of the application? Okay, hearing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? Last time, anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? Okay, so, Deanna, do you have, staff comments regarding the application?
All right, we're gonna first try to find Dan's memo again. I don't know why it's not showing up.
Dan, I can share it. I have it up if that would make it easier.
Yes, please, because I don't know why it's not up here.
Okay, how do I share this with Brandon?
Just hit share.
Click on Brandon.
No, you just have to hit on share. Stop, it says stop share for you, Rich. Right there, he needs to share.
Okay.
Let him share.
Click on Brandon.
No,
There you go.
He's
Brandon
got,
share.
he's got it. Click
Yep.
on him. Yeah.
Thank
There
you. All
You're
right,
welcome.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
well, I don't know why it's not up. We uploaded all these things, so I don't know. anyways, if you see, there's a million documents, but, I'm gonna go over this for Dan's memo. Dan started his memo on December 9th, and, all of the comments have been pretty much addressed on it and satisfied. We have comments from the, engineer that, and from different, jurisdictions, the health department, zoning. I would say all of them have been generally satisfied. On the memo there, I would say that since we talked already about a waiver, for the sidewalks that has been submitted. Dan also, mentioned the open space fee, the $100 per lot. Then on number 8 of his memo, which would be on the second page, Dan also noted the historic stone walls along the property boundaries. I did provide, Brandon an example today of a stone wall preservation agreement with the city, and we have these on other subdivisions. And it's something that protects the historic stone walls that are hundreds of years on this property from being sold or moved at any time in the future. So I'd be asking that a stone wall preservation easement be granted to the city and accepted by the city council for the boundary walls on the subject property. Obviously, in the easement document, it talks about moving some of the walls if you need to, like that would, if the driveway was gonna move over, they would have to, obviously open that portion of the wall and move the stone over. But it's really about preserving historic structures. So that was number 8, and I provided that to Brandon. Before you close the public hearing, this is number 15. All these other items have been, I believe, addressed on the revised plan, but I didn't get a copy of the revised plan, Brandon, and a hard copy of this. So could you make sure that we get that?
Yeah, we committed to addressing all the comments and providing you with the revised plan set for final review.
Great, thank you. But I just didn't know if what you were showing today, if there was anything that had been submitted.
No,
See it.
no changes, no
Thank-
changes on these plans.
Thank you. So all the pretty much items have been addressed. But the waiver would have to be for the sidewalks be dealt with first. All the comments from Dan's memo, I would say item 15, if you make a decision on a favorable decision on the application, that those be incorporated. It does conform to the city of Norwich zoning subdivision regulations. There is a list of exhibits if you want to go stop sharing if you didn't mind, Brandon, and we'll.
No problem.
Are you updated? What was it last today? It was one of the last things I gave you today.
I know, I checked it.
So there's an exhibit list. I'll read it in. There's only 14 items, so I'll do that since it's not up on the board exhibit list. Number 1 subdivision application dated October 31st, 2024, received on 11/1. The warranty deed
Here it
dated.
is, here it is.
Thank you. Thanks, Rich. Was it called exhibition list? Okay, so this is the exhibit list. There's 14 items. They're including, like I said, the waiver request is in there, and then compiled reviews by departments, which I can just tell you real quick. Those were the health department approved the subdivision. Richard Shook had some comments that have been pretty much satisfied, and they'll be satisfied on the revised plan. Rob Harris, the electrical services available, no natural gas, city or water or sewer. And then Jeff Dewey, city engineer, had some comments that the engineer has committed to addressing on the revised plan. So we're comfortable with this application, moving it forward. And the letter, and the notifications were sent out correctly, so.
So was there a question, Rich, in your memo regarding whether the utility electric was gonna be overhead or underground?
That was a question in Dan's, and I think, did you answer that, Brandon? I think you said it's gonna be overhead, correct?
No, actually, on the revised plan set, we'll show, so power's available on the west side of Plain Hill Road, so we'll show drop downs on the poles that are there and underground to each house. That'll
Thank you.
follow the driveway, so it won't impact the stone wall. So that's the intent. Obviously, MPU will have the final sign off on that, but we will show underground utilities on the final set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And are you, in agreement about the stone wall preservation agreement that we discussed today?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. So that's it for me.
Okay, does anybody have questions or comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, I guess we can have a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Jason. I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Jason, do we have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
Thank you, Ella. So we have a motion by Jason, second by Ella. To close the public hearing, all in favor?
All right,
Okay, the public hearing is closed. With that, I guess the first issue would be to do the sidewalk waiver.
Yes, please.
So, there's been a, letter requesting a waiver of sidewalk, requirements, for this subdivision. Do we have a motion regarding that, request?
I'll make the motion that we accept the sidewalk waiver as written.
Okay, do we have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
Thank you, Ella. So motion by Jim, second by Ella to waive the sidewalk requirements for this subdivision.
For the reason.
For the reason that there are no other sidewalks in the area.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Jim?
I agree with that one, right?
And so that's the motion and the second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Okay, so sidewalk waiver is approved. Do we need to do any kind of a, action in connection with the open space fee, or is that?
No, that's just
that's
required in
automatic?
that's in here. So it's items 15 of Dan's memo is the conditions on and stating in the reason on the record, but I would like to add an additional condition that stone wall preservation easement be granted to the city and accepted by the council for the boundary walls on the subject property.
All right, so that being said, does anybody want to make a motion in connection with the application for subdivision itself?
item 15 contained the stone wall preservation easement also?
No, I said adding that
Oh,
to it.
adding that too, okay.
Yep.
This is Jason. I'd like to make a motion to approve with the inclusion of Dan's memo item 15 and the stone wall preservation easement.
Okay, so we have the motion to approve with the conditions as stated, and we have a second.
This is Ella, I'll second.
Okay, so I think Jim beat you to it, so I'm gonna give it to Jim on that.
You get the next one out.
All right, so motion by Jason, second by Ella. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
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 Okay, so the motion is approved, the subdivision is approved.
And the reason, because it complies with the subdivision regulations.
Of course,
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Verify that in here.
you're welcome.
Brandon, thank you.
Take care now.
All right, thank you, Brandon.
Enjoy
you.
Costa Rica.
I will. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Good
He's a
fun.
hard worker. He's going there.
We were expecting a nice sunny backdrop from you.
It's a little dark here for that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, enjoy. Okay, so next matter is a site plan review, is that correct?
Yep.
For subdivision number 440, 173 Old Canterbury Turnpike and landlocked property on Canterbury Turnpike known as map 31, block 2, lot 11, located approximately 257 feet in the rear and between properties known as 167 and 173 Old Canterbury Turnpike. Request for a 2-lot subdivision on a parcel that includes an existing dwelling, to create an interior lot. The application of Karen Goad, property of Karen A. Duff, assessor's map 31, block 2, lots 10 and 11, zone R40. So, this doesn't require a public hearing.
Nope, no public hearing. But you
Is
know-
there somebody here to speak in connection or present this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, John Felice from Boundaries LLC.
representing the applicant. I don't know if I can share or if Deanna, you bringing up plans, or would you prefer me to do that?
I prefer you do it if you have them handy.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so the plan that you have in front of you, I'm going to just jump back to sheet one. This is a application for 2-lot subdivision, as you mentioned, for 173 and 0 Old Canterbury Turnpike. The property is in the R40 zoning district, and it's located on the east side of Old Canterbury Turnpike. The plans are dated December 2024, revised through January 22nd, based on town staff comments and planning department comments.
We have not received paper copies of these yet, correct?
I believe we just provided those electronically at this
Thank
point. They will be provided in paper comment for review as well. The property actually consists of the 2 tracks that we had referred to. Jumping to sheet 2 of the plan set. Part of this application is essentially to review or to correct some sins of the past, so to speak. The applicant required these 2 tracts of land in 2014 as 2 separate tracts. They're both in common ownership and therefore effectively merged for zoning purposes. Our plan is to essentially take 3/10 of an acre in this area from 173 Old Canterbury Turnpike to add it to 0 Old Canterbury Turnpike to meet the bulk requirements, subdivision zoning requirements for 0 Canterbury Turnpike to be a compliant lot. The total property area is 7.5 acres. The resultant lots, the vacant lot will result in 3.21 acres, and the lot with the existing residence will result in 4.28 acres. We have provided a waiver request for sidewalks. The nearest sidewalks to the site are approximately 3,000 feet away and on the opposite side of the street. We have received approval from the Uncas Health District, as well as the Inland Wetlands Commission's jurisdictional ruling. We have provided a bond estimate in the amount of $12,000 for erosion sedimentation controls associated with the development of lot number 2, which is conceptually shown on sheet 3 of the subdivision plan. We did receive comments from NPU and from Jeff Dewey, the city engineer. The NPU comments were related to the extension of utilities to the lot because of its distance from the street. There's been a note added to the plan to reflect their concerns. It's shown here. The city engineer's comments were primarily related to ENS controls and some modifications to sediment fences and things of that nature, which have also been addressed. We received comments from the planner as well. Those have been addressed in subsequently with modified plans and or notes added to the plan to accommodate those concerns. Again, this is really kind of a correction of something that occurred in 2014, and we're looking to just provide that frontage to meet the requirements so that 0 Canterbury Turnpike can actually be an approved building lot. It's had a separate card and a separate address since 2014. When we began to do the survey work on this, our initial thought that it was going to be a lot line modification, and then found through our land records work that that was not the case, and it did require subdivision approval, which is why we're here this evening. Sheet 3 also identifies the sightline demonstration, identifying 280 feet of available sightline in both directions from the proposed driveway access. And sheet 4 of our plan set includes the zoning map, project narrative, drainage narrative, operation and maintenance of all the erosion controls, as well as those construction notes and details related to erosion controls and the sanitary system, which again was approved by the Uncas Health District. Going back to sheet 3, Uncas Health District approved the conceptual location of the septic system on lot 2, and they also approved the demonstration of a code compliant reserve area for the existing house that's shown north of the existing house on lot 1. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And if there are any concerns regarding the comments or comment responses from town staff, we'll be happy to address those as well.
I do have a question. I thought I heard you say when you started that the lots were effectively merged, but we're actually, you're actually looking to propose two separate lots, is that correct?
Yeah, they're actually, I mean, when I say merged, I mean merged for zoning purposes. They were acquired in two separate deeds. They've been maintained in two separate deeds and they have two separate street cards. However, they were in common ownership and 0 was a non-conforming lot. So in order to rectify that, we have proposed the subdivision to separate that in accordance with the subdivision and zoning regulations.
So
It
they'll
should have been done in 2014.
continue to be two separate lots then under two separate deeds.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify it in my mind.
Right. It should have been done in 2014 and it was not done then.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have questions? No questions, comments from staff?
Yep, so, excuse me. The engineer has addressed the comments in memos back to us. I have not, really reviewed the revised plan, just quickly reviewed his memo. But I'm satisfied that he has addressed all the comments of staff. The only action that you need to take on it, Rich, can you call up my memo? Do they have that in front of them? Is, the waiver, you need to act on the waiver for the sidewalks, and also I just quickly go over, my memo was dated 1/21/2025.
This one.
There it is.
Okay,
And-
I'm not sure. Let me make sure I'm sharing.
I stopped share, so you should be able to pull it up.
And if you go to down to like the second page, the bottom of the second page, Rich. Scroll down. So, so these are my my conditions, recommended conditions of approval. After the sidewalk waiver, there is bullet points that go from, page 2 to page 3, and that addresses all the comments that we have. It's pretty simple. This is a pretty clear one. You know, it addressed a illegal subdivision that occurred and then trying to fix that and give it some frontage now. And I think it meets all the health requirements. There's a couple of encroachments from properties around it that are going to be removed off of it as well. So I don't have anything else except for, that's it.
Anybody have questions? No, okay, hearing none, does somebody first want to make a motion regarding the sidewalk waiver?
I'll make the motion that we accept
Accept the sidewalk.
waive the
requirements?
sidewalk requirement because they're, let's see, what was that? There's no sidewalks. up there, Right,
Yeah, I think he said 3,000 feet away.
yeah.
So-
So I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
This is Jason, I'll second that motion.
Motion by Jim, second by Jason to waive the sidewalk requirement that, for the reason that there are no sidewalks in the area, closest being 3,000 feet away. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right,
All right,
Aye.
Okay, so the sidewalk requirement is waived. And then that being said, does anybody want to make a motion in connection with the application itself for the subdivision approval?
so this is Jason, I make a motion to approve application 440 with the inclusion of memo number 12 and bullet points.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the subdivision application by Jason. Is somebody gonna make a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
Okay, Ella's got that one. A motion by Jason, second by Ella, to approve with the bullet points set out in the memo and for the reasons set out in the memo. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that subdivision application is granted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, next matter
Okay, this is,
is a referral from the ZBA.
yeah, Rich is here to kind of talk about that. I just need to find it.
Okay, so this is variance number 20-12,
That's
105 Onico Street. Request for a use variance to zoning regulation 2.3 neighborhood commercial zone standards for the purpose of the construction of a single-family home where a single-family home is not permitted, not a permitted use in the zone, subject to subdivision approval. Property of Guillermo Soria, application of Guillermo Soria, assessor's map number 084, block 002, lot 070, NC zone.
Okay, so that's the neighborhood commercial zone. So I can start and then I'll turn it over to Rich if anyone has any questions.
Is
The
there
zone-
anybody here?
They're not usually, it's just a referral from one board to another.
Okay.
So, but Rich is staff, so if you had any questions, but I'll go over it and then he can chime in if you need so, for him to do so. So as you are aware, and it says right here in the variance, use variances have to go to the commission on the city plan because specifically what it states in our zoning regulations, use variances are, they really can't give them a variance if, there's any other use allowed there. So let me just read that to you. I just want to go do that, call it out real quickly so you understand what this says. Page 1.
Is it referred to as a commercial neighborhood?
It is, was neighborhood commercial. Yep.
So,
So this is what it says for use variances. Additional considerations for use variances. No use variance shall be granted where a dimensional variance would relieve the exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship. This is not about a dimensional. No use variance for business use or an industrial use shall be granted in a residential zone. That does not apply. It's not a residential zone. No use variance shall be granted for an industrial use in any business or special zone, and that is not applicable. A use variance, this is the most applicable. A use variance shall only be granted where, without the use of the variance, the private property would be rendered valueless. And then for any use variance application, the zoning board of appeals shall refer the application to the commission on the city plan. The zoning board shall provide the commission on the city plan within 35 days to review and comment on the application. So right now, this gentleman has a property where the house is shown on here. He wants to subdivide his lot, which is allowed. He would have to go through the subdivision process. But the uses that would be allowed on the other subdivided lot are not the creation of another single family dwelling. That's not allowed in that zone. And so what-
commercial?
In neighborhood commercial, single family dwelling is not permitted. So he's asking for a variance to allow for another single family use on that property. That's not been divided yet, but he doesn't want to, it's kind of a apples and oranges what goes first because he doesn't want to spend the money on a subdivision and subdivide the land if he can't get another house there. He doesn't, otherwise he's not going to do it. So from a purely zoning standpoint, of course, he has use of his land. It's not valueless if he doesn't get what he wants. He can subdivide that lot and get many other uses. He just can't get a single family.
Like a
use there.
convenience store?
He could get an upstairs, a mixed use building there and have an apartment above something that's commercial on the first floor.
Okay.
So this is where, you know, that you have to provide some input to the zoning board of appeals required by our regulations. But again, the key is you know, variances should not be granted unless it makes the land valueless. And there is value and there is other uses, but just not the use that that particular person wants for the land.
Or they have to go get a subdivision?
They still have to subdivide because they would split it for another, he wants to split it for another house, not split it for another commercial.
Sure, sure. I read the letter.
I know where Onico is. Where's Zephyr? We have
Yeah. What is, we need to pull up the
It's,
big map. there.
well, we can show those too, that just, yeah, do that one.
I can show what's.
somewhere around there.
That's where it is there.
Okay.
And so if you want to put the zoning layer on so people can see that, Rich, where
The lots next to
That's
them are
neighborhood commercial, huh?
it is. And there's in that area, if you look, don't forget there on Fanning Avenue, we just approved a school there. There's an art gallery in that area, so that's pretty, it's pretty busy in that area there of other uses. And in our POCD in that area is discussed to have that mixed use medical there, so people can live and go to the, you know, have doctors, maybe apartments with doctor's offices, then some mixed use. That was what's in the POCD.
Okay.
So I don't know if you took a look at the application that was uploaded.
I did.
Okay, I can just read what the applicant's application says. Variance requested, please respond favorably to my request for a separate lot, which is not what you're considering. You're considering the use. For independent of my ownership of my home, my plan is to make a prefabricated house, which will be subject to the rules of planning requirements. And then he said, the reason for my request is to authorize the construction of a house on the lot attached to my house to be close to my sister, who is elderly in this city. We are only the two who take care of each other. The lot is suitable to build before buying the property is pending, which is why I hope you give me authorization to make it independent again and build the prefabricated house for my sister. Thank you. I appreciate your attention. So again, the property is not valueless as neighborhood commercial property, and understanding that we can't control future uses. We can't control that this gentleman and his sister always live there or anything like that. So remember that this is not,
Well, we're only making a referral. to
yep, the ZBA makes the
Yeah.
ultimate, but the referrals in the past, I'll just give you the language. You usually recommend against a variance or you support the issuance of a variance. That's the language.
Right. So,
But you only see ones that are for use variances.
are there any questions?
And Rich is here if he needs any questions of
Do
zoning.
you have
enforcement.
any comments, Rich, you want to make?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, he's requested a use variance for a use that's not permitted in the zone. So when he came in and I spoke to him, I advised him that the best course of action is to seek the variance first before you spend thousands of dollars in the subdivision.
Right.
And everybody agreed. You know, I try to counsel people. If I don't think they're gonna get a variance, I try to advise them of that. But some people tend to just decide, well, the law allows me to do it, so I'm gonna apply. So
Okay.
here we are.
Are there any buildings on the properties, the empty lots next to it? It didn't show any building.
Yeah, sure, up the,
Yeah, there's
there you
lots.
go. Yeah, expand.
There's
that.
lots, but no buildings. It looked like.
So maybe turn off the layer for zoning real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's turn on
There you go.
aerial photo too.
Yeah, no buildings.
It's underneath there. We can do that.
Yeah, these are vacant lots.
Okay.
If it's vacant, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
again, but there's also commercial properties all in there too. Remember that. And there's, like I said, the school is just approved in there on Fanning and things too. So sometimes it's time to make other decisions when you can't do what you want to do, you know? So.
All right, so does anybody else have any questions? Okay, hearing none, does somebody want to make a motion regarding the referral of this to the ZBA, either for approval or?
It would be a
disapproval?
recommendation against issuing the variance or a recommendation in favor of the variance request.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the request of Mr. Sierra for the 24-12 for a variance request. No, I said it wrong.
It's either you're making a recommendation for a support of the variance or against the variance.
So,
We're just making a recommendation to the ZBA.
Yep.
Whether we think the variance is in accordance with the regulations or not, and should be granted or not granted.
Remember the language that's specifically in the regulations on page 111. Just trying to, you know, use variances are the least favorable variances because they're contrary to all your plans. A use variance shall only be granted where without the use of the use variance, the private property would be rendered valueless. Remember that language. So I'm just, letting you know, again, they're gonna make their decision, but this is the recommendation from you as the people who oversee majority of zoning.
So again, anybody want to make a motion or do you want to restate your motion, Jim, or modify your motion? Or
I'm in favor of approving the variance request.
so you're
So
making
how
a
would I-
motion
how do you
to,
want me to?
In support, a recommendation in
Yeah.
support of the variance request.
okay.
Okay,
So Jim's made a motion to recommend the variance be granted by the ZBA. Does anybody want to second that motion? Anybody want to second it?
This is
Okay.
Ella. I'll second for discussion.
Okay. So Ella's seconded the motion for discussion. So that being said, we have some discussion on this motion, man. Anybody want to make some comments or concerns regarding the motion?
Well, I see potential for the other empty lots to be used for commercial in some way.
Yeah, but we're just discussing this lot.
Yep.
Anybody else have any comments or questions regarding the motion?
I just have a question because, I'm looking at the aerial map and it looks like are these all houses here or are they,
There's a mix of uses in there.
okay,
There's a mix of uses.
but isn't it overwhelmingly housing, would you say?
But it's zoned,
Mhm, I
it's
understand.
zoned neighborhood commercial, but it's a mixture of old housing and, like I said, office buildings, museums. Singh has his museum in there. There's a lot of different things in that area of Fanning Avenue, right there. in Zephyr.
Yeah, right, that's the school
And there's,
there.
the Clinic Drive has offices all in there.
Medical stuff.
Okay.
All right, so we have the motion. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. So all in favor?
What was it, second?
Yeah,
It was
Ella
seconded by Ella.
seconded.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion?
All right,
Jim
I,
and Ella?
Aye.
Aye, okay. I'm in opposition, Jason, opposition, so it carries a favorable recommendation 3-2.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have the wording right, because Jim's motion, a recommendation that the variance be granted by the recommendation really was in support of the variance request. Is that fine to say that? Okay.
Okay. That's acted on. I see no old business on the agenda, Deanna.
I have no old business.
Okay, no extension requests.
No, but we do have a bond.
We have a bond reduction or release request.
Yeah. Right, we have that up on the computer, on the screen or not? I don't know if you do, but if not, I'll just read it. So we have a bond for a zoning permit, 15-249, which, was issued way back, a zoning permit issued back in December 18th, 2015. The reason that it's before you, even though it's a zoning permit, it was originally the Northeast Towing and Transport. Remember, they did some site work and on their project out there. And there was site improvements that weren't done when they were getting a CO. They do towing and they're on West, Thames Street.
Yep.
So their work now has been done. It's been years. We finally got a letter from their engineering team. And it was looked at and reviewed by our city engineer, who's now, saying that we can release those bonds. So one was for $34,450 and the other $705. They were two separate ones, but they were having to do some privacy slats. They had to install gravel millings and then confirming, the installation of the retention pond was correct. All that's been done. So I'm just asking for the authorization of the releasing the bond, the two bonds for zoning permit 15249 related to Northeast Towing.
Anybody want to make a motion regarding the bond release?
Mrs. Ella, I'll make a motion for a favorable bond release.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a second?
This is Tracy. I'll second.
Second by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the bond shall be released.
Good.
Okay, I don't see any other business.
The only thing I would say is to remind you that next month, because of President's Day, we're also off by a week. So we are the last Tuesday of the month next month, and then we get back to our third Tuesday of the month. We do have definitely now 2 applications moving forward, which were the 2 public hearings that we postponed. So we know we do have a meeting. So that is it. Dan Deniska, hopefully maybe be back.
Do we,
I don't think so. So
do we know the date of that next meeting?
it's the 25th, I think, 2/25/25, I think it is.
So we can drive at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's it. We're just very busy. And any questions for me, since staff report's sort of an open conversation too.
I'm good, I think, tonight. Anybody else? Deanna? Good.
I'm okay.
That being said, we can have a motion to adjourn.
This is Ella. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ella. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Jim, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone. You were
Adjourned.
terrific.
8:16.
16.